Good evening everyone and welcome to the 6th round of the Simsport Racing International GT3 Season 4 here from Bathurst, Mount Panorama. From Donington Park to one of the most challenging motorsport arenas in the world, described as a geological oddity by Michael Waltrip, the 6.213 kilometre circuit is loved and loathed in equal measure by drivers for its unique characteristics and its ability to bite and bite hard. The flat-out blasts of the Mountain and Conrod Straights provide the only respite as drivers climb, cross and thunder down the Walu Mountain with corners across the top such as McPhillamy Park, Skyline, the S's, the Dipper and Forest Elbow. If those names, corner names, don't strike fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned racing drivers, then no corners will. Well, to guide you through the action, I'm Tim Fulbright, your lead commentator. Delighted to be joined this evening by a certain Dave Hedges. Dave, welcome to the race tonight. Thank you very much for joining me in the virtual commentary box. Bathurst, what a circuit, eh?
It is. Evening, Tim. Evening, everyone. Yeah, it's a real challenge, this track. Strangely enough, it's three sectors that are very different to each other, but at the top of the hill, very difficult to get right every lap. It's going to be a real challenge for these guys, but it's looking like an exciting season with different drivers winning each of the rounds, so it's close at the top.
Very much so, and we're looking forward to another close fight for race honours this evening. Hello to everyone watching the stream. Thank you for tuning in once again. Do let us know who you're cheering on this evening, your thoughts on the race and the action that will undoubtedly be taking place around Mount Panorama. And of course, if you do enjoy what you see tonight, then hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up to date with all the sim racing action here as part of the newly formed Simsport Racing International community. Last time out, a hectic race at Donington Park saw Clyde Bainey take victory after he and teammate Rhys Spence Robb swapped positions in the closing laps following their mandatory stop, as we see an emerging pattern that the Odyssey Racing crew tend to favour a strategy that leaves their stop as late as possible in these races. And returning to the podium was Nard Cox, the Dark Sky Racing driver, bouncing back from a difficult Zandvoort as he looks to close the gap in the championship standings. But Dave, look, the Bathurst circuit, Mount Panorama, as I mentioned there in the introduction, it has a tendency to really bite when even the most minor errors creep in. And this close to the penultimate round of the season, I believe, this isn't a place where you want to be making one of those mistakes if you've got your eye on a strong championship finishing position.
No, you definitely don't want to have the odd scrape here and there and just pick up damage, because it really hurts you, especially down the straights. You need as best aero as you can get. No damage to the engine, etc. So, trying to keep away from the wall, which is easier said than done, here is paramount.
Well, the drivers have headed out on track for qualifying, so we can cut across to live pictures to see our very healthy field of 32 cars having their first goes at the Mount Panorama circuit here in Anger. And Dave, I suppose one of the difficult things is you spend a lot of time doing your race runs, high fuel, seeing how the tyres degrade after this most recent ACC update. Sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge, can't it, adapting to now a low fuel run and trying to get the best out of the car over that one lap?
It does, yes, and since the update, the cars are they do seem to be a lot more understeery, which when they've got low fuel, you get the you get a snap of oversteer when turning in. It makes it very disconcerting, but the guys and girls are doing well to get a fast lap in. Just looking at the practice times as well, and I think Nard Cox and Sem Spenkelik were very close in their practice times, so it's going to look like a pretty interesting qualifying, I think.
Absolutely, plenty of opportunities to make up time around this Bathurst lap, but plenty of time to lose it. For you, Dave, what are the key areas? I mean, obviously it's difficult to avoid the run across the top of the mountain as the main point for lap time, but two very long straights, and sometimes we do see drivers messing around with setup, trying to maybe maximise different parts of the track.
Yeah, the top of the hill, obviously, and across the mountain is very difficult for passing. So in the race, you're really maximising to get the entry and exit out of the first turn and around the Dipper. They're the key key points of the lap. Really, getting the best exit there and getting the runs down the straights. That's where you're going to make the moves into the two 90 degrees after the straights. So it's going to be interesting to see how they've done that. But generally the Porsches tended to do well here because they could. Nobody could pass at the top of the straight. The top of the hill and the mountain. So it was just really. They pulled out and off they went, but obviously not too many Porsches in this race today, I don't think. So we'll see how the McLarens and the Astons get on, because they tend to be the quicker cars out of the groups.
See how they get on indeed. First times then coming in, Clive Bainey has set the pace so far at 2 minute 2.3 from the driver of the number 85 McLaren. Then in second place it's Sem Spenkling, actually just knocked from the front row of the grid by Rhys Spence, Rob, in the Odyssey Racing number 48 Aston Martin. So it currently is an Odyssey Racing 1-2 at the moment. Then it's Chris Vickers up in third place in the number 147. And just as I say that, he gets knocked from third place by Andreas Garlin at 2:02.5. So we're seeing the time start to come in. Top 9 separated by a second, which sounds like a lot in racing terms, but here at Bathurst, after 6.2 kilometres of white knuckle ride, really, that is not a margin to really look away from. Very close lap times already coming in these first runs during the qualifying session. Now, as part of our broadcast this evening, something we're delighted to bring you, we do have 2 drivers on our race radio, so we can drop in at any time during the action to speak to long-standing SRHI and now Simsport Racing International drivers Chris Hill and Simon Pike. Now, I wanted to try and pick a good time for them on their laps to drop in and get a word with them. So as Chris is about to hit a straight, why don't we try and grab a word with Chris, who is now thundering down the Conrod straight. Chris, first time's on the board, how's it going?
It's not going too bad, to be honest. Slightly better than I expected. Trying to get my rhythm in. I'm loaded for a few laps here. Trying to brake for a corner and not knowing where it is. There it is, found it. Stop looking.
It looked good there,
Chris. Yeah, one final corner. Where do you think this is going to put you?
Probably in the same place, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to move up. There we go, messed it up in the final corner. I'm just going to let this guy pass.
Thanks, Chris. Keep it up, mate.
Cheers.
That's fun, isn't it, Dave? You could hear him concentrating, couldn't you, down into the chase. I think we picked a good time to speak to him, but it's a really challenging, it's quite deceiving, the final few corners here at Bathurst. On the track map, it looks fairly straightforward, but it's quite you can lull yourself into that sense of, it's just 3 corners to the end and really mess up your lap.
There's a lot of people that can't actually communicate with the but when there's people talking to you, they really need to be in the zone and keep it silent. Obviously we hear the Formula 1 drivers telling their engineers to stop bothering them through the races. I for one have not been too bad with that, but I know some of the other guys, certainly they don't like being spoken to during the race. Don't even like any noise going on other than in the zone.
Yeah, well, we're going to be those people today, bugging the ears of Chris Hill and Simon Pike throughout their race. Hopefully hear how they're getting on. Well, one driver who's leaped to the top of the time, Sem Spenkling in the number 1 McLaren, a 2 minute 1.787. He's setting the pace now, a whole 4 tenths ahead of Chris Vickers, who certainly found form coming into this race. I mean, a fantastic qualifying so far. It would better his best qualifying from this season of a 14th place, which came at Paul Ricard. So if Chris can carry on with this and hold on to P2, this will be his best performance so far this season by a long way, as we look at Mike Abrenhoser on screen at the moment in the number 21 McLaren. He's down the order in 9th place, but at the moment, judging by the delta on the left hand side of the screen, he's over half a second up on his best time. Now that could see him jump into the top 5 if things go his way and he can keep it clean this final part of the lap, out of the forest elbow, run all the way out to the wall on the exit, but don't clip the right hand side of your car, cost yourself some valuable tenths, hundredths even, but also carry some aero damage of a long way down the back straight here, the Conrod straight, as he now comes up to the chase, flat out in through the right hander over the crest, then drop the anchor about the somewhere between 100 and 150, depending on how brave you are. Throw it into the left and the right. Don't hit the curbs or run the grass. It can dislodge the car under the Liquimolly Bridge and into the final corner at Murray's. He's still got time in hand as Abramhoser now to the tune of 7/10. One corner. It looked fairly clean through there and up to P4. Abramhoser improves a 202.295. So his fast time's coming in now as we head into the second half of this qualifying session. But it is Sem Spenkelink who is still setting the pace, and at the moment he's on track to better his provisional pole time. He's got a 10th in hand as he comes up to the final corner at Murray's. Deceptive 90-degree left-hander. You don't want to run the curb too much on the inside or the outside. Find yourself dislodged and costing yourself time. Crosses the line to improve a 201.6. So just setting the pace even more so, and just turning up the wick a little bit more on his competition, as we do have plenty of McLarens in the top 10 so far. It's McLarens in 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. So clearly the 720S looks a strong car in qualifying here at Bathurst. I wouldn't be surprised to see that carried on into the race as Chris Vickers now throws the car almost over the top of Skyline, down through the dipper and towards the Forest Elbow. And Dave, this has got to be one of the most difficult braking zones in the racing world. Turning over the crest, easy to kind of lock and understeer or throw the rear of the car around. It's such a tricky corner.
You've got to have some pretty good balance in your car to achieve all the turning points and make sure the rear end's not coming around on you under braking. Obviously you can play it around with the brake balance a little bit, but if you've got poor balance in your car, you're in the wall. It's 100% you're going to get in the wall. But I see Marquez has popped up into second there as well, so he's put in a good lap, only 3/10 back from Sem. But Sem's really showing him the way to go at the moment. He's just on board with him at the moment on spectator mode, and he's got it hooked up, that car.
Absolutely, we've so often seen Sem bring the best out of that McLaren number 1, but he hasn't got pole position so far this season. Best place was on the front row in P2 at Paul Ricard, and I believe then the only car that bettered him was his teammate Nard Cox. So he's yet to grab that pole position so far this season. He's the driver of the number 1. Let's see if tonight might be the first time so far. Abramhoser though, looking in fine form this evening. This number 21 McLaren going well at Bathurst so far. 7.5 minutes to go. Now let's drop in with our second of the two drivers that have joined us this evening in the race radio. Simon Pike on an out lap. Simon, how's the qualifying going so far? 21st position, but you've still got time to improve.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a go. I've not really nailed down a decent setup for qualifying, but hopefully I've got a better one for the race. But yeah, I was happy with the lap. I think I've got a 202.9 maybe in it, if I get the perfect lap, but it's getting that perfect lap.
202.9 did you say? So that could see you up in P12. Does that sound to your fancy?
I'd fancy that, yeah, but whether I can get that time out of the car is another story.
All the best of luck, Simon. We'll leave you to it.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have these two guys in the race radio with us. But see, Simon, there's something you're looking at a driver, isn't it? It's a blessing and a curse having a potential time that you can see maybe on screen, or at least know what your optimum lap would be, because you've got to get it all together, haven't you? You've got to string that lap together, and this is one of those circuits where doing that is sometimes just impossible.
You've got to have nerves of steel to pull out the qualifying lap, especially around here. It's so difficult to get every turn right, every braking point, every little brush of the wall, just to make sure you maximise the lap time. Obviously Simon's hoping to get up to 202.9. That'll be a good lap from him if he gets there. He's obviously got the 5/10 that he thinks he can get, but he's got 5.5 minutes to do so a good 2-3 laps maybe.
Still plenty of time to set a time or improve, as Nard Cox now jumps up to second place at 201.8, as we see the number 81 Ferrari just tagging the grass on the run in to Hell Corner and running on into the runoff area there. That was Joan Planas So that lap has had to be aborted at the first opportunity. So you have to gather it up and go again. As here's Dimitri Degnoy in the 114 Bentley flying over the top at Skyline. Down the hill, there was a car in the barrier there, so he would have been definitely put off his optimum line just by the knowledge that there's a car off ahead of you. There's another car going slowly there. That's the Jaguar of Dan Lenson, currently in 11th place. So it's not been the cleanest of runs for Dimitri so far, but he still holds on to a 10th on his personal best. That could see him jump ahead of Tim Niebauer into 13th, or even if he can find time here through the chase, could find himself up in towards 11th and 12th positions. Let's see then into the left-right complex. Got the car stopped well, and everything looked to be fairly in control. Nothing too ragged or costly to his lap time. Into the final corner at Murray's, gets the car stopped well. A slight bit of understeer mid-turn there, but he's able to gather it up, and on the run to the line he takes an improvement, but it's not enough to improve his position. He still stays 14th, which is always heart-wrenching when you know you're up on your time, but it's not quite enough to improve your position. So as we head into the final 4 minutes, drivers out on track will definitely have time to get round and start a new lap. As Dave says, there might be 2 or 3, as there's a car off down there at the chase. That is the number 301 off into the sand. That is Yannick Valenduk's Honda NSX there, finding the gravel trap. So he's made a mistake on the run down through one of the fastest corners on the track. But here is Nard Cox, 3/10 up on his time. Can he take pole position from his teammate? No, crosses the line. A 2:01.707 is not enough. He's 0.035 of a second off Sem Spenkelink's time, and dropping back to pit lane. That might be his last shot at pole position, as here James Mead in the Odyssey Racing Aston Martin gets past Sem Spenkelink, who is clever enough to drop out of the way and not provide the number 29 Aston Martin with any sort of slipstream on the run down the Conrod straight and towards the chase. The Ferrari stays over to the right-hand side of the track as Mead throws the car in through the chase and brakes as late as he possibly can for the left-hander. Looking fairly under control through there as well. No major moments, slips or slides to cost him time as he comes up towards Murray's. One more turn, and can he improve? He's currently tying equal best with his time, crosses the line. 2:02.457. No, he's about, it's just over half a tenth slower than his best lap, but he'll go again. He's got time to do so. And Dave, with a track like Bathurst, with qualifying, it's one of those circuits really that once you get into that groove and you keep pushing, you can just find the time coming to you, can't you?
You can, yeah, and you've got to find some space. I mean, just looking at the track map, there's a couple of big gaps there. Obviously, Sem's managed to find himself a little bit of space by allowing the chap to go past on the back straight there on the Conrod. But yeah, hopefully trying to probably get a little bit of a tow up the mountain straight, just to give him a little bit of a boost. But the problem is he's potentially 5-6 tenths quicker around the lap, and that could quite easily get swallowed up if the car in front doesn't get a shifty on.
Yeah, we'll make a mistake. It looks like one of our drivers in the race radio this evening potentially just had an off. I'm not too sure, can't quite see the number on our track map, but anyway, Simon Pike and Chris Hill joining us for the race this evening. They are currently in P23 and Chris Hill down in 30th position. So Simon managed to get down to a 2:03.4, not quite the 2:02.9 he thought he had in the tank, but we're heading towards the final 60 seconds of this qualifying session here at Bathurst Mountain Panorama. On screen at the moment, Chris Vickers in P5, but nearly 2 tenths up, and in fact he's lost nearly all of that on his run through the chase there. So he will have one more shot at improving his time, but it looks like it's all gone away on the exit of the final complex of corners. Up to the line goes Vickers. Yes, he dropped a good 7 or 8 tenths there. Maybe just backing off to give himself some space. Here is Simon Pike in the Dynamic Motorsports number 13 Aston Martin. He's going across and down the mountain now into the Forest Elbow. A bit of traffic ahead, but in this case it might provide him with a handy tow. That's one of the Ferraris just skating across the wall there on the exit. And here we go, down the Conrod straight. He's getting a healthy dose of slipstream from the car ahead. Looking at his delta on the left-hand side of the screen. It's just hovering around 0.13 of a second, so potentially had a toe on his best lap prior to this. In towards the chase for the final time. The clock strikes 10 seconds to go, so I don't think Pike will get another lap. This will be his last shot at improving from P23 under the Liquid Moly bridge and in towards Murray's for the final time. Can he get the car stopped? So tricky to do so. Clobbers the curb on the inside. Manages to apply the power cleanly, and on the run to the line, he does improve a 203.2. Leaps him a couple of positions. He's now up to P21, so improvement right at the death there from the Dynamic Motorsports driver. Here's Dave Jr.'s number 10 Lamborghini. This has been a bit of a disappointing qualifying session so far from the Artworks team driver down in P20 at the moment. It seems a long time ago that he took third place on the grid at the opening round of the season at Laguna Seca. Down the Conrod straight and in towards the chase, he is up on his time by 1/10 of a second. We could see him at least gain a couple of positions, if not more so, if he can keep it clean. In towards the chase, yes, 2/10 now in hand, Dave, so this time is going his way. He comes over the crest down towards Murray's for the final time, hits the brakes nice and clean. He gets the car in, a bit of understeer mid-corner and a bit of a wiggle on the exit. He drives to the line and he does improve, jumps up to P16, so an improvement at the death there as well for Dave Jr. But it is Sem Spenklink that is looking set to take pole position as Cox, Marquette and Spence Rob are all in the pit lane. There's only a number of drivers still out on track attempting to improve. One of them is Dan Lenson's bright orange Jaguar here on screen. He comes up over the crest, down the Conrod straight and towards the chase. He's up on his time, and now the delta's just coming down. He's now equal with his time. He only needs to find 0.5 of a second. He could see himself bump ahead of Dimitri Dugnoit's Bentley in P11. Round the chase for the last time and towards Murray's. Can he get the Jaguar stopped nicely? The number 31 car looking good as it comes through the final corner. Very clean run through the last turn. Crosses the line. Yes, he does improve up to P11 for Lenson. Danny de Swart down in 23rd, but found plenty of time on this lap. He's P23 on the run to the line. And where does he go? P13 as he takes the checkered flag to end the session. But it is Sem Spenklink on pole. He's joined by teammate Nard Cox on the front row. Then it's Mattis Marquette with a spectacular session there, handing him his best qualifying of the season, his previous best, only 7th place coming at Kyalami. Then in P4 it's Reece Spence, Rob ahead of Chris Vickers, Clyde Bainey, Mike Abramhoser, James Mead, Andreas Garlin, Thomas Van Schaik rounding out your top 10. So let's have a word then with one of our drivers from this evening. Let's see if we can have a chat with Simon Pike post-qualifying. Simon, you did improve on your time. It wasn't quite the target you were aiming for, but P22, right in the thick of the action for this race.
Yeah, it's not really where you want to be though around this track. I clipped a wall on my first flying lap, so I had to pit again, do another out lap and get one flying lap, so I managed to improve a bit, but I thought it might be there, but nah, not to be.
Sometimes like that. Sorry.
Hopefully I survive the first few laps and then might be able to pick up some places there.
I was going to say, what's your strategy going into this one? It's a bit of an innocuous first corner, isn't it? You've got plenty of cars around. The Aston Martin of Dennis Verkman in front. I believe that Patrick Treffer's Nissan to your front left. What's your strategy for this?
They're both very quick guys. I just try and keep it clean first of all and worry about positions later.
Lovely
That's
stuff.
usually my MO then.
And 1 hour ahead of you, of course, at Bathurst. How are you planning to split this one, or will you just take it as it comes in terms of strategy race-wise?
I've got 100 litres in the tank and there's 16 waiting in the pits, so I can pit anytime if I get damage, or can always fit that 16 litres in now. So it's just like an open strategy really. Depends if the car's damaged or not.
Brilliant stuff.
Hopefully got to the end though.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you there at the checkered flag, Simon. Best of luck.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Well, why not as well hop over to our second of the two drivers in the race radio with us this evening. It is Chris Hills down the order in 30th position. Chris, plenty of cars in front of you, but I suppose with that comes plenty of opportunities to make up positions. This first lap at Bathurst, normally pretty hectic.
There's always plenty of cars in front of me at all times. I'm not that good, you know that. That's why I would come and commentate with you every so often.
You wonder why I picked up commentary, Chris? That's the real question.
Let's see if we can pick some places up. If there are any casualties in the wall. Fingers crossed. I mean, that's not right, is it? Good luck to everybody. I'm surprised not in pole with that astonishing lap I set.
I was going to say, you know, I do ask you about qualifying, which is my favourite thing to ask you, but you know, do you set up the car more for the race? You know, are you really doing race runs in your practice? If you are doing practice, you know, what's your strategy when you come to those practice sessions? Are you trying to do quali laps? Are you trying to do an hour run to see how the tyres work? What are your plans?
I'm just trying to get through the lap, to be honest. I don't practice quali runs, so I just try and practice the circuit. I know I'm not good enough for that, so I'm always quite happy to finish wherever I finish. In all honesty, I'm here for the fun rather than the competition. So.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris, and we echo those thoughts. And a best finish of P18 coming at Laguna Seca earlier this season. Do you reckon you can better that this evening?
Let's say I hope so.
Good answer.
Never say never.
Brilliant stuff. Best of luck, Chris.
Thank you very much, and good luck with the commentary, guys.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
So, Dave, this warm-up lap, it's difficult going over the mountain at a sedentary speed, isn't it? It's probably quite refreshing not trying to throw the car at the scenery, but really you're just setting yourself up now for the race, aren't you, and hoping that you've got the right tyres and fuel in the car.
You are, yeah. You've really got to warm the tyres up in the right way now. After the update, they've changed the tyre model, which allows the surface of the tyres to warm up a lot quicker. It makes the core seems to warm up slower, but then it holds its temperature, doesn't get too hot, and you know, the surface temperatures go up and down. But you've got two very long straights on this, as we said before, you know, and the long straight down the Conrod before the start-finish line just allows those tyres to cool down far too much. So you should be seeing a lot of weaving, a lot of stamping on the brakes to make sure you've got enough temperature in those brakes for turn 1 and turn 2. It's going to be really important to get a good launch off of that.
Absolutely, and here is a look at the Mount Panorama circuit from the air. This you can see over to the left-hand side, the snake of cars weaving their way down the hill, across the top of the mountain, down through Skyline and the Dipper towards this corner at the bottom of the screen, the Forest Elbow, and then it's the flat-out blast across the right-hand side there towards the Chase and the final few corners of the lap. And this is where drivers will be doing their best to, as Dave says, maintain that tyre temperature that is so crucial now as a result of this most recent ACC update. It's requiring drivers do a lot more management of the heat in the rubber underneath them, and certainly so important to make sure that the car is ready to go once the green flag flies. Good evening to everyone watching along. Adam Isalovic, Frederick Lejon, Jano De Vissa, thank you very much to you guys for tuning in this evening. It's a pleasure to have you on the YouTube stream. I hope you enjoyed the race ahead. Lee Thorpe, Tom Mear as well, joining in for the race action this evening. So here we go then. The drivers are going to line up into 2x2 formation to take the green flag. 60 minutes on the clock, 60 minutes of hectic Bathurst action surely to unfold before our very eyes. Plenty of cars still to make their way around the Chase and take up their position in the order. One final run at a slow speed through Murray's, and we can see still a number of drivers just maybe applying the brakes, maybe ducking and weaving just a little bit to keep the temperatures up in the tyres that they've got on their car, and they'll be locked in now with fuel, the strategy. We'll see how it plays out here at Mount Panorama, ready to take the green flag. Sem Spenkelink on pole alongside his teammate Nard Cox as they roll towards the start-finish line, and the green flag will wave any second now. And we go green here at Bathurst, and it's a good start from Sem who's able to cover off his teammate into the first corner, but there's a look up the inside from Matas Marquez alongside the Aston Martin there of Rhys Spence Rob, but it looks like the order has maintained as they go up the mountain straight for the first time and fly over the crest and towards the right-hander. That is often an overtaking opportunity at Griffin's Bend, but Spenkelink has got the whole shot on his teammate. McLaren's 1, 2 and 3, as here is the traffic flying up the hill for the first time. It looks like everyone has got through fairly cleanly, but still plenty of opportunity for disaster to unfold as they come up towards the cutting. First real heavy braking zone on the lap. It's quite blind into there as well, with walls on either side as they come over the crest. Anthony to Horst in P14 in the Mercedes looks to have got through cleanly, and look at the cars fly past the barriers as they come up over the crest and in towards McPhillamy Park. Spenkelink, Cox, Rhys Spence Rob has actually got ahead of Matas Marquez there with the opening few corners. Then it's Clyde Bainey, race winner at Donington Park, ahead of Chris Vickers, James Mead, Mike Abrenhoser, Thomas Van Schaik and Andreas Garlin round out your top 10. It's de Knoit, Lenz and de Swart to Horst and Kroll, your top 15 positions as they thunder down the mountain for the first time in towards the Forest Elbow. It is still McLaren 1-2, but now a perfect opportunity to utilise the slipstream down the long Conrod Straight. But it looks like, Dave, that Sem Spenkelink has done just enough to gap his teammate on the run down the Conrod Straight for the first time.
Yeah, I think obviously Nard's not going to be launching one up the inside of Sem, I don't think. He'll be bearing in mind their teammates, but you know, hats off to everybody there. They've all got around the first lap. No major incidents, maybe a couple of bits of door banging, but excellent. Oh, there's a car off onto the grass there.
Chris Vickers exiting stage right, and James Mead goes stage left on the exit of the chase. He's nose first into the barrier there. A bit of a confusing instant between the two of them. It didn't look like there was any major contact, but the driver of the number 29 stays stationary as he waits for the long train of cars to come past him. Yellow flags have been retracted now as he's back onto the racing surface. Chris Vickers was the McLaren that was off to the side of shot as well. He's going to tumble down the order. Not quite sure where he's managed to rejoin the race. Down in P13, I can see on the left-hand side of the screen there, as this leading quartet are just able to now start stretching their legs and gapping the field. And I suppose, Dave, Bathurst, sometimes it's actually about working with the other cars to some extent. You know, if you're with someone that's got the pace, why not just lap together this early on in the race and start trying to pull a gap? It's so important, like you said, trying to find that track space.
Yeah, it's because you know, as soon as you pit, you don't want to be stuck behind slower cars. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the strategy, because it's quite warm, track temperature 33 degrees. The guys behind, in terms of these behind Sem, if they are pushing hard, they're going to be putting some stress on their tyres, and it'll be interesting to see how far they get into the race. I'll be very surprised if they do a almost full race distance or one set at a time, one before pitting. Obviously the extra fuel, I don't think it's going to help them.
Interesting to see how strategy plays out then. Is still this leading quartet able to stretch away from the rest of the field? Now here's the replay. In the green McLaren on the left-hand side, weaving across, that is Chris Vickers. Then it's Mead and Abrenhoser side by side in towards the chase. And Vickers just seems to go off all on his own, very close to hitting the back of Clyde Bainey there. That was a bit of a scary one. He would have been clenched in there as he hit the brakes and didn't quite slow down as much as he would have liked. But fortunately, he's able to rather cut the corner and rejoin. As in the background, we would have seen James Mead spinning off to the inside. Bit of a strange one there, Dave. Just driver error, do you reckon? Missing the braking zone on the run in through the chase?
Yeah, it was quite close to the car in front, so maybe that's just put him off a little bit. But then obviously James, I think, definitely got put off with Chris going off, as he just ended up running too deep into the corner and lost it on the grass. Couldn't slow down quick enough and hit the wall. But a bit of a strange one from Chris. But everybody ends up doing one of those a season.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so easy when you're following cars, or at least in battle in that opening couple of laps, to just miss a braking point here or there. Unfortunately, Bathurst isn't a circuit where you can get away with it too lightly. Fortunately, the chase is one of those very rare opportunities where you can skip through the grass. Here's Tim Kroll, though, side by side with Dave Jr. on the run-up towards Griffins. In behind is Patrick Treffers in the bright green Nissan. He won't miss that car from a mile away, with Dennis Workman and Simon Pike tucked in behind. Here's Yannick Balenduk's number 301 Honda. He's looking for a way up the inside. of the Ferrari there of Martin van der Kraan as they come up through the cutting. He holds on to the position as behind. That looked like Johan Planes clouts the wall. Run up through the tricky left-hander. It's all kicking off towards the midfield and further back down the order. Pike up to P19 now, so he has gained a few positions as Garlin skips across. Skyline there, that's tense, Dave. That's not one of those places you want to be making a mistake at all.
No, it's a very strange corner. You have to you really have to send in there. You just lift off the brakes and have another bite of the cherry. If you don't, you can end up locking up, go straight on a bit like he did there. I think it was very lucky he didn't end up flying through the corner and into the wall there. So yeah, well played.
Now, I can't quite remember, but is that one of the only places on the track really that you can pick up a track limits warning? Because I suppose you get maybe 2 or 3 mistakes there at the skyline before you get handed to drive through.
Yeah, there's a few. It's battle for second here, so is that Nard Cox and Spence Robb? Spence Robb trying to go around the outside, but there's no way he's getting around there.
Yeah, Nard Cox able to just hold on to his line and defend the position. Spence Robb, who was previously the fastest man on the track, has his lap bettered by Sem Spenkling as he battles side by side. There's drama further back. Anthony de Horst spun to the inside. I think that was contact with the Mercedes of Tim Niebauer there in the final corner. There was a whole gaggle of cars trying to make it through Murray's side by side. It looks like, unfortunately, that Anthony was the victim of that, spun to the inside, but looks to have got going again and returned to the action. Still plenty of time to make his way up through the order. Unfortunate incident there, 53 minutes to go. Side by side again, Kroll and Junior coming up towards the right-hander at Griffins, and a bit of contact. That sends Kroll in deep. He scrapes across the wall on the outside of the corner. Also compromises Junior on the run up the hill. So that's going to allow Patrick Treffers to look potentially for a pass into the cutting, but no, he's got his own battle to deal with. As in behind, it's Niebauer and Pike looking for a way through. Now the Mercedes and Aston Martin are side by side up over the crest, but as they funnel down into single file, it looks like the Mercedes has managed to hold off the advances of the Dynamic Motorsports at number 13 as they fly through McPhillamy Park down towards Skyline.
I think Anthony de Horst hit the wall at the quarry there. I think he's just ported back to pits, so I think he might actually be out.
Let's see as drama unfolds even more so at the cutting. Tim Niebauer, it's Patrick Treffers facing the wrong way in the Nissan, the DD racing car, and that is quite possibly the worst place to get turned around on this Bathurst circuit. He's going to have to wait for a whole heap of cars to come through before he turns around. He's currently got the number 25 just flying over the crest. You'll need to be careful as to not get involved in another incident. That was Nick van der Mark there coming over the crest, so hopefully they haven't come together. No, it looks like on the track map everything is fine, but this group of cars, they were so close together, it's hardly surprising to see just one bump too many as 4 or 5 cars were exchanging positions. Niebauer, Pike, Abramhoser here on screen was certainly showing his intentions, with Kroll and Junior having their skirmish through Griffins on that previous lap. So plenty of battling going around this Bathurst circuit. Thomas van Schaik is now the fastest driver on the track, setting a purple lap time. His best time certainly showing that it's not all said and done for the top group. He can still catch up and keep in with it. Here we go, look, this is him all over the back of Nard Cox, who potentially has lost out to Clyde Bainey there, as well as the Aston Martin behind of Van Schaik just clatters the wall on the exit of the cutting. So I wonder what's happened here to Nard Cox. He was fighting with his teammate Spenkling for the top couple of positions. Then we saw him going side by side with Spence Robb. I wonder if the number 35 McLaren has been in the wars, or indeed in the wall. It doesn't look like there's any major damage on the car, potentially a few scrapes on the front end of that McLaren. He's definitely dropped down the order, losing 2 or 3 positions there. So fingers crossed we can find a replay and see what happened. He's behind Marquette Shimlani now, so he's got work to do. Here is Patrick Treffers. This is the instant we saw the Nissan facing the wrong way, so over the crest and into the fast left-hander at McPhillamy Park. Then he comes down towards Skyline. You can see how blind it is over the crest, and into the right, through the left, and then right again. And just, Dave, it just looks like he's lucky to avoid any further contact there, but it just looks like the rear started stepping away and there's no opportunity to gather it up as Van Dijk goes for a move on Cox. Can't get the pass done, runs through the grass. Treffers losing the rear, no chance to gather it back up again.
No, it did look like it was just a little bit too fast into that corner. So just the rear end stepping out of him, couldn't control it. Couldn't manage to drift, just a little bit of drifting around the corner, as you know, Tim. That's my favourite thing to do. But yeah, he did well to not hit anybody else, and obviously the four behind him as well did well to not come in contact with him. But at this point of the race where you're starting to get bunching, I'd be thinking, do I change my strategy here? Do I pit early? Do I try and get some free, some clear space? Because they are still quite bunched up on the track. There's a few stragglers here and there, but I think there's some good space around. So I'd be certainly considering a change in strategy.
Well, we are seeing the first pit stop come in from this evening's race. Nard Cox, the driver we were focusing on a few moments ago, having dropped out of the top two, has now made his mandatory stop and he's exiting pit lane now. So just for comparison, he leaves the first corner as the duo, the quartet really he was fighting with, of Spankelink, Spencer of Marquez, Barney and Thomas Van Dijk head across the top of the mountain and now down into Skyline. So lose a good half the lap by pitting. So let's see how the rest of the strategy unfolds. But potentially now for Nard, he does have that clean air that you were mentioning, Dave. He's got the opportunity to put some of that pace down, but I suppose we've got a tricky game to play now. 48 minutes on these the revamped tyre models. It's certainly going to be a challenge.
It is. I think it should be fair. It should be okay. When we did the Spa 24 hour, we were doing over an hour on the set of tyres, and they still felt okay towards the back end of that. So I think we should be okay. He's really got to make it count though. If you stop early, you've got to put in those times to make it count. So the other guys will just be running their fuel down. The tyres will be lasting better. Obviously, if he's only just put fuel in, not taking any tyres, then he might be hurting a little bit. It depends on his strategy at the start. I mean, he might have been running full fuel towards the start, so it's only a splash and dash. But we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be an interesting one towards the back end of the race.
Absolutely, that was Amber and Hoser battling away there with Andreas Garlin, I believe, and Dimitri Ducnoy smelling blood in the 114 Bentley. A number of other drivers have made their stops, but I wonder if that's as a result of picking up damage. It's a Medina, Damien De Keyser, Dennis Berkman, James Mead, as we saw, spun off on the first lap. Joan Planas and Patrick Treffers also making their mandatory stops inside this first 15 minutes of the race. Here is battle on screen. Now, we spoke to Chris Hill pre-race in P30 on the grid. His best finish so far this season is P18. He's not too far away from that at the moment. He's certainly managed to steer clear of drama. He's now got Klaas Vester and Benjamin Simmers in his crosshairs. And the number 7, Aston Martin, looking pretty quick on the straights up in towards Griffins as he got the move done on Klaas Vester almost. Vester hangs it around the outside and is able to almost use the NASCAR high line around the Griffins corner and keep the position. I don't want to talk to Chris just yet. It would be great to get a word whilst he's racing, but don't think he'd be too happy. As Klaas Vester makes a mistake on the exit of the cutting and slams into the wall on the left-hand side. That's going to hand him a whole heap of front-end damage. So hopefully Chris has got the position. He can just drive away from Vester, who's been pretty quick so far this season. Best result for the driver of the number 90 Ferrari coming at Zandvoort. He stole P6 after starting third on the grid in that wet dry thriller. As we're seeing a number of other cars coming down pit lane, it looked like actually a retirement there from Dennis Berkman, which is a shame to see, as Sem Spenkeling setting the pace. That's 3 consecutive purple lap times, down to a 2:02.7 now as the driver of the number 1 McLaren. An absolutely rapid time from the current leader of the race. That would have seen him go about 11th or 12th in qualifying, so the pace is continuing to come down. It's about on screen between Lee Bauer and Dave Jr. as they head up towards Hell Corner. 15 minutes of the race gone. Dave, I suppose at this point of the race, you do start to turn your mind towards the strategy. You know, you kind of got through that first obstacle, which is surviving lap 1, surviving the 2, 3, 4 laps after that, just setting up your race. But now you've got to start thinking about when that pit stop's going to be taken.
Yeah, it depends how close you are to the other cars around you. If you got a bit of space, then you're just trying to settle down, get the rhythm, pump in the laps, and really decide on when is the best time to pit. You don't want to really pit too early if you can help it, but obviously if you're stuck behind people, then as I said earlier, it's best generally to get out the way and then get some boring laps in. But if you feel you can get past, if you're getting a good run out of the Dipper and down the Conrod Straight, then there's always an opportunity down there. But across the mountain, it's really difficult to get, even to follow, let alone try and pass anyone unless someone makes a mistake and hits the wall. But then you're always lucky not to get collected by it. Obviously, you're seeing Evan and Tafas on the screen there, and you can see how close they get to the walls around the S's. So it's quite an interesting track down there. Really difficult to get the lines right each time.
It's almost like the corners change every lap as well. You try and do the same thing, and the next lap run by is Nard Cox having to avoid Van der Mark there as he clattered the wall on the run through what's called the Metal Grate and in towards McPhillamy Park. He slammed into the right hand side in the number 25 Aston Martin. As you can see, the bonnet is now lifted on the front of the car. He's going to be carrying considerable damage down the hill now. I wonder if we'll see him in pit lane immediately as Klaas Vester, who we saw in the fight with Chris Hill, clatter the wall. Not only is he pitted, he's now unfortunately been handed a drive-through penalty. Not too sure what that is for. So some of the races now, unfortunately, starting to be the victim of a few errors as well. Let's see if we can take the risk then. Simon Pike, one of our drivers in the race radio, we're riding on board with him. So let's stay with him across the top of the mountain because he's got some cars in front, and then we'll have a word with him as he comes down the Conrod Straight up in towards Griffins. And Dave, this track, it seems to start so easy with a 90-degree left and a flat-out stretch. It's really where the roller coaster begins.
Yeah, this tight left-hander is so critical to get that right, because you're offline through here, and you just really can't get the right line because you should be flat through the turn over into the S's. So it's really tricky. And Simon looks like he's pushing and he's getting close to the walls as you need to. Looks like it's not putting too much risk in the lines, but over Skyline here, and as you can see, it just unsettles the car, flicking it left and right. And it's obviously coming back down the hill through the S's. It looks like you might get a decent run, or just run a little bit wide there, and it just puts you off the whole of the rhythm into the Dipper. So coming down the Conrod Straight here, so he's just lost the rear end there, so that'll cost him down the straight now.
Let's have a quick word with him, Simon. Everything looks to be going well so far. If you can hear us, P15, good start.
Yeah, cheers, bud. Managed to avoid a few incidents, spins, and now I'm the guy we're battling with at the start's in front of me, and I think I squeezed him a bit on the straight. I was looking down the other side of my car, expecting him to come up the inside, and he was on the other side of me. Yannick. Yeah, so I don't think he's going to do me any favours now with the blue flags.
Absolutely epic start though, Simon. Keep that, mate.
Thank you very much.
Chat to you soon. Enjoy that. You can hear them when the brain starts kicking in as they need to make sure they're not missing braking points. I do feel slightly guilty for dropping in, but it's difficult to do around here at Bath. There's not really much opportunity for a break besides the two straights, and I suppose if you're thinking about battling and fighting away, it's a bit hard to get a word in. Well, here's Chris Hill, so whilst he's about to head onto a straight, let's grab a word with one of our drivers in the race radio, Chris Hill in P20. Chris, good start.
Well, I told you about phoning me while I'm at work.
Got a hands-free device in this Aston Martin here.
Oh yeah, if any of the police are watching, I am on hands-free, honest.
Cheers, Chris, we'll catch up with you a bit later. This stuff into here, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We don't have a 15-second bad language delay like the F1 does. So these guys are obviously being on best behaviour, which takes a bit of concentration as well as driving the car.
Yeah, we wouldn't have any time to get all the T's and C's before they get a word out on these straights here. So here we go. Chris Vickers, though, on screen in the 147 McLaren, recovering after that lap 1 incident where he ran on at the chase. He's tucked under the rear wing now of Danny de Swartz, number 57 Mercedes. Danny improving right at the end of qualifying to jump up into the top 15 positions, I believe, as they now head into the chase over the crest and into the one of the biggest stops on the circuit. Now here's a fun battle back. This is Niebauer looking at the back of Dave Jr. on the run down into those corners at the chase. Under the brakes, Jr. defends to the inside. That's really all you can do there. You can, if you're brave enough, hang it around the outside, but in fact Niebauer opts to just try and get the better exit, and he has done so, nearly side by side on the run towards the final corner at Murray's. He's trying to set up a move for 2-3 corners time and prioritise corner exit, as he's now looking to the outside up towards Hell Corner. If he can't get it done here, he can try and get a cut back and get the run down the mountain straight and towards Griffins. He's tucked up in the slipstream, almost got too good an exit there, wasn't able to make massive benefits of the draft, but as you can see, this Mercedes has got fantastic legs in a straight line. They're side by side over the crest. Coming up towards the right-hander at Griffins, Niebauer is clear of Junior's number 10 Lamborghini, so job done, up to P13. Junior now falls back into the clutches of Yannick Vanderlip, who I believe is a lap down, one of our cars that's pitted. He's kind of playing havoc with this battle, but he's staying clean, not showing his nose or getting involved in the fight, but he's continuing to lap or rather out of position. Right on board with Junior up over the crest, looking back at the Honda NSX of Vanderlip through this section over McPhillamy Park and towards the skyline. The track just disappears out of view. It's almost like the world ends there, and it certainly feels like it when you throw one of these GT3 cars over the crest and in down through the dipper, through the S's and towards the Forest Elbow. Those blue flags are waving for the NSX of Vanderlip, but he's lapping cleanly. He's not getting too involved or causing any trouble, so I don't think there'll be too much problem with this. And as Simon Pike says, there was a bit of argy-bargy at the start, so doesn't expect any favours from the driver of the number 301 as they come down towards the chase once again. And such is the pace of the races here at Bathurst that we're nearly halfway through round 6 here of the Simsport Racing International Season 4. Here is our race leader, Sem Spankelink, who's just worked away at pulling a gap to Reece Spencer, now nearly 5 seconds. As right there, Dave Jr. was defending from Yannick Vanderlip into the final corner. And I suppose, Dave, this is exactly what you were talking about. This is the problem with pitting early in one of these races. Vanderlip is out of position, but clearly got good pace on his new tyres or fuel.
Yeah, he's got the pace, but if you can't get past somebody within a lap, really, he's been shown the blue flags, and he should be pulling over. And I think there he goes. He's just allowing Simon past. That's the right thing to do. He's getting shown the blues, so he's obviously keeping up. Simon loses the rear end there, so he's got to be careful. Might just put him off a little bit, just not expecting to be let past by his main protagonist in the race so far. But I think he did the right thing there. It's difficult when you stop early and you get stuck behind people, but you've got to get past them quick. You've got to make it count.
Absolutely, as we see Chris Vickers still latched on to the back of Danny de Swartz down through the skyline, through the dipper. Really, here, Dave, you're setting up a move. You've got to follow over the top, haven't you? You've got to follow through the real single file section, but you can still just try and set up that momentum, can't you, for the run down the mountain on Conrod Straight?
There is, and yeah, because you're following, you can take a slightly different line in the bottom of the S's there, and just take a slightly wider line in through the dipper, force them to take a tighter line. You can get a little, get a run down the Conrod straight. He's obviously not close enough this time, but he's putting a lot of pressure on. And Chris, from what I found in the Spa 24 hours, he's very quick in race pace, and he certainly can put the pressure on as he comes in the pits.
Going to say the strategy playing out. We spoke about opting to get out of the traffic and find yourself some clear air. As we see now, Chris comes down pit lane to make his mandatory stop 25 minutes into action here at Bathurst. He headed to pit lane in P10. It'd be interesting to see where he comes out on the track. It would also be crucial to compare that against one of our early stoppers, Nard Cox, who was inside the top 5. Now as Vickers trundles down the pit lane, that was a very quick stop from the driver of the 147. He heads in towards the first corner as Nard Cox is only just coming out of the chase, so it looks like it hasn't been the best of past 20 minutes or 15 minutes or so for Nard Cox. And in fact, with a handy stop like that from Chris Vickers, this could see him leapfrog right up the order once the pit stops have all played out, lapping at 2:03 4s and 5s for Cox. It doesn't look to have been too much of a problematic stint for him following his early stop with 49 minutes to go. Certainly try and keep tabs on him, see how he gets on, as Garlin touched the wall there, Dave. Very close indeed.
Yeah, he's done that a couple of times now, hasn't he? So he's riding his luck. If he does it again, like you said, he might be looking at getting a drive through, because you do cut that corner. When you get a track cut, you only want 3 track cuts, and the next one's a drive through. But in terms of Chris Vickers, that was definitely a strategical stop. He took such a small amount of fuel there. He just wanted to get away from the traffic. Hopefully he's not going to get stuck behind anyone too much. I mean, I think it looks like he's about 9.8 seconds behind Tafas. So he's got a good amount of time there to make up some time on the people that were in front of him that maybe have been holding him up.
Definitely, and plenty of clean air still to be used and make advantage of the car underneath him in his new position out there on track. Obviously Cox, thinking about it, lost time because he must have been carrying damage. His pit stop 1 minute 1 second compared to Chris Vickers 41.5. So look, it looks like a nearly 20 seconds lost in the pit stop, which would align itself with some sort of damage sustained to that number 35 McLaren. As battle on screen, this is one of our drivers in the race radio, Chris Hill, now up to P19, looking for a way past Benjamin Simmers as he closes up under the brakes in towards the chase. If he can get this move, he will be on course to tie his best result of the season so far, which came at the opening round at Laguna Seca. But he's probably not thinking about that, is Chris. He's probably thinking about just making it round and ticking off the laps in these remaining 32 minutes. He has got Nard Cox behind him, so he's got one of the quick McLarens tucked up under his rear wing. I suppose really for Chris here, it's about losing as little time as possible as Cox tries to get through. Indeed, as Chris has got the run on Simmers, dives out the slipstream side by side over the crest, up the mountain straight towards Griffins. They are too wide, and I wonder if Cox is just backing out of this as they come up towards the right-hander. Can Hill go the long way around? Oh no, Chris is in the wall. The number 7 Dynamic Motorsports car loses it on entry, and unfortunately has lost plenty of time, and he's still stationary there in the runoff. Gets the car going again, but I think he's going to lose out to Yitse Medina as Nard Cox gets past Benjamin Simmers. To be going a little bit too well almost for Chris there, Dave. He had such a good run, but I suppose he's out there in the dust and the marbles, and it's difficult to get the car stopped and turned in.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Nard's not his race. I'd be thinking long and hard about should I just be staying away from that and just make it, keeping my own race on plan. And unfortunately, in this instance, he's looked like he's made the wrong decision. But yeah, you win some, you lose some, unfortunately. But he looks like he's back on the road, so hopefully we didn't pick up too much damage.
Fingers crossed. I'm sure we'll hear from him if he comes to pit lane, as looked like one of the Abron hoses was there in the wall on the exit of the Forest Elbow. As Nard Cox continues on now down in P17. But still plenty of pit stops to take place as we near the halfway point of the racing action here at Bathurst. Let's have a look at the replay here. This is the incident involving Chris Hill, lap 14. 3 cars on your picture. Simmers on the right hand side in the red and black Ferrari. 2 wheels on the grass. Chris Hill almost gets all the way through in the Aston Martin. On the brakes, Simmers comes back through and just side to side contact, sees the Aston Martin run out wide. Lucky to avoid the wall actually there, Dave. So fortunately it looks like he'll avoided any sort of damage, but unfortunately for Chris, that's a whole heap of time lost.
Yeah, it's just his pride there. I think going around the outside of that turn is not great. It just looked like he turned in a little bit early. Just didn't give Simmers. I didn't give him enough time there. Just enough space to get round the corner side by side, because there is a bit of a runoff on the outside. But yeah, you've got to be mighty careful and trust the guy on the inside.
Absolutely. So we are under the halfway point of the race here. Under 30 minutes to go at Bathurst. So let's give you a quick run through the order. It is Seb Spenkelink who still leads the way in the number 1 McLaren for Dark Sky Racing. He's got a 4.3 second advantage over Rhys Spence Robb in the number 48 Aston Martin. Then it's Matas Marquez running in the podium positions with Clyde Bainey, our Donington Park race winner, in P4 ahead of Thomas van Schaik in P5. Then it's Dimitri de Knoit, Andreas Garlin, Mike Abrenhoser, Dan Lenson and Tim Kroll. Lenson and Kroll, the 2 drivers on your screen at the moment. The 31 Jaguar, bright orange car, trying to hold off the advances of Kroll's 2K Racing number 19 Lamborghini. Then P11, Tim Niebauer, Dave Jr., Simon Pike up to P13 as Xander Vale and Evan Tafas round out your top 15, and also complete your the top bunch of the drivers who are yet to make their pit stops. Then we have Chris Vickers in the 147 McLaren. We saw him make his stop with 34 minutes to go. He leads the way of our drivers who have made their mandatory stop in this 1 hour race. Then it's Nard Cox, Benjamin Simmers, Yitzhak Nadim and James Mead, who has unfortunately had his race all come apart with an incident on the opening lap. But with pit stops still to play out, let's see if the number 29 Aston Martin climb his way back up the order. Then it's Chris Hill, one of the drivers in our race radio this evening, down to P21 with Damien de Kaiser in 22nd ahead of Patrick Treffers. Then it's Martin van der Kraan, Yannick Vallendu, Nick van der Mark, Johan Planas, Danny de Swart, Klaas Vester, Dennis Berkman and Adson de Horst. Unfortunately, I believe those last 3 drivers have retired from the race this evening. Kroll, though, looking for a way past Dan Lenson, and surely a number of cars heading towards their pit stop window. Xander Vale pitting from P16. He will drop down the order as cars come flying past the pit lane. It's not the longest of pit lanes here, Dave, is it? So you don't lose too much time, but if you picked up a scrape or a bump here and there, really the costly time loss in the pit lane can come from A, from getting damage, or B, from actually making a mistake in pit lane. You don't want to get a drive through or a stop go.
You don't, and it's very easy now because they've fixed the bug that there's basically allowed you to steam into the pit lane, and as long as you was in first gear, you didn't get a penalty. They fixed that now. It's a lot. Well, it's very tight. You cannot speed entering the pit lane or exiting. So. It's very easy to get a stop go for speeding in the pit lane, and yeah, like you say, it's a very short one. It's not like Spa where you spend 80 seconds just going through the pit lane, whereas this is you don't get much of a loss, and it does make sense to fuel as much as possible and just take a splash and dash. So it's just whether the tyres will hold up, as we said earlier. I think they should be all right, and the temperature's dropping a bit, so we should be okay.
Absolutely. So we've got a driver in pit lane. So let's have a word then with Simon Pike, who has stopped in his pit box. Simon, first didn't come to a close. 26 minutes to go. How are things looking?
I hit the wall. I've got a bit of damage, so that's why I've pitted now. We're losing about 25 seconds extra on my pit stop. I was losing time on the track. I did a few extra laps just to see what the car felt like, but understeering like mad, and it was just creating more damage, so decided to pit now.
unfortunate to hear, but plenty of time still to go. 25.5 minutes. What's your plans for this? Just give it everything and see what comes your way?
Exactly. Yeah. Just go for it. Just try and keep it clean now. Just see what places I can make up. I don't think it's cost me as much as some, so we'll see. We'll see what. Oh, then I stall it. Oh.
Excellent stuff. Good luck, Simon.
Hey, thank you very much.
As if by magic we've got a stop go there for Abrunoso, and that's going to be speeding in the pit lanes, I'd said.
Yeah, exactly, and that's unfortunate because looking at where he is in the order of things, he's only 7/10 off the back of Chris Vickers. Those two heading the train of cars that have made their mandatory stops, and still with 11 cars, the top 11 cars, I should say, yet to pit. It's valuable time gone amiss there for the driver of the number 21 McLaren. Dimitri de Knoit's headed down pit lane as well in the 114 as Tim Brawl gets as close as he possibly can to the back of Dan Lenson's number 31 Jaguar. They come up towards Hell Corner. These two have been battling away for a few laps now. And Kroll is starting to get a little bit frustrated with not being able to make the move, and whether he's just locked in terms of pace, and they are an equal match. Their lap times have been really fairly equal, but on that last tour of the Bathurst circuit, Kroll was 3/10 faster, so he seems to drop back and catch up. And ebb and flow does this gap between positions now 7 and 8 on track, as a number of other cars are now making their mandatory stops. Sam Spenklin going as far as he can at the moment. Spence, Rob, Marketch, Barney, Van Schijk, Garlin, Letson and Kroll, the two cars on screen, as well as Niebauer and Evan Tafas still yet to pit. Then Benjamin Simmers down in 15th, hasn't stopped, as well as Chris Hill in the number 7 Dynamic Motorsports Aston Martin yet to come down pit lane. Aaron Hoser comes to pit lane to take the penalty. Unfortunately, the driver of the number 21 McLaren is just going to find himself tumbling down the order. Now it looks like he's going to be rejoining the track with Patrick Treffers, I think, on the track map there. In fact, he's going to lose the position to the number 313 Nissan. Potentially Zander Vale getting through as well. So it just shows you how much time can be lost. This was a car fighting for what would now be moving towards the top 10, and with pit stops to play out, even better than that. But unfortunately now, for Abram Hoser, he's down in P19. Plenty of work to do. 22.5 minutes to go here at Bathurst. The driver is still yet to pit, one of them being our race leader, Sem Spenkelink. He's done 18 laps so far. He's heading up towards Griffins into the right-hander now. So I suppose now, Dave, this is where things are going to start getting even more tricky for Sem. The tyres are starting to just wear down a little bit, or just show signs of wear. His pace has dropped in the last few laps, but whereas he's had plenty of clean air to play with, he's now got traffic. He's got cars that have stopped, some that haven't, some that have just made mistakes or hit the wall. Plenty to consider in this remaining 20 or so minutes.
Yeah, the back markers are obviously going to start impacting him. He's just coming up to Van der Kraan, just at the top of the mountain there, but I think he'll be past him quite quickly. I'm sure he's just settled into a rhythm, just gapping Spence or Rob is obviously, I guess, probably pushing quite hard. Maybe forcing a few little mistakes out of his own driving, but he'll come up against the back markers as well. But what I'm really impressed here is Lenson in the Jag. I mean, it's really not an easy car to drive at the top of the mountain, but it's so fast down the straights. It's completely opposite to the Porsche, but he's keeping Kroll at bay through the mountain section, and just stretching its legs down the straight. So he must be getting pretty frustrated with the speed of that Jag down the straight.
Surely he's got to pit, Dave. Surely in this situation, maybe 3 or 4 laps where you feel like you're quicker than the car in front. Oh, it was a big error, actually, out of the Forest elbow. Kroll spinning towards the inside, lucky to gather it up and avoid contact, but potentially just a sign of the frustration building there inside the cockpit of the number 19 Lamborghini as we ride on board with Dan Lenson down the hill in towards the chase, so fast into the heavy braking zone. 280 kilometres down to about 100. braking zone in towards this final sector of the lap. Surely now Kroll's got to pit, especially with the mistake. You know, he's got to roll the dice and try something.
Well, yes, but he's got 2.8 seconds gap now. If he has got the speed, I mean, let's see if he picks up some time. Then I would expect him to pit as soon as he gets on the back of him. But he's got a little bit of space to get some time back without pitting. So I think let's wait and see. But I think he'll stay out for at least another couple of laps.
Let's see how it all plays out then. Here is Chris Vickers on screen. Team Abbey Racing number 147 McLaren, as Thomas van Schaik in the number 299 Aston Martin. His race has been going so well, he's just made his pit stop from P5, but unfortunately he's picked up a stop-go 30-second penalty. That is going to see his race unravel in this remaining 20 minutes. It's gone so well so far. Unfortunately, he's going to have to serve that penalty before the end of the race, as Vickers looks to the inside and Atafas, the pink and black Nissan on the outside, yet to visit pit lane. As Vickers gets the job done and continues his recovery drive after that incident at the opening lap where he ran on through at the chase and dropped a good few positions through the grass. Now back up to P10 on the road, but it's, in terms of drivers who has pitted, he's just behind Thomas van Schaik to the tune of 8 or so seconds. Actually, it's just they've gone through the the timing being there, 8.2 seconds. Van Schaik though with that stop-go penalty, so Chris Vickers will be leading the pit stoppers once Van Schaik comes down pit lane. Mattis Marquez running in P3 at the moment in the number 20 McLaren, going very well so far in the white and red 720S. He is still being chased by Clyde Bainey, but he's just managed to cut the gap of a couple of seconds or so and keep the Odyssey Racing number 85 firmly in his rear mirrors. Matt is picking up P3 at Zandvoort. Has been his only visit to the virtual rostrum so far this season. There's the driver behind him, Clyde Bainey, coming off the back of a pretty spectacular win at Donington Park. So two drivers in two very different positions in terms of the championship, as Joan Planas behind just gives the wall another knock in his number 81 Red Rocket Racing Ferrari. Griffins and up the hill, just costing himself a bit of time there, as Damien De Keyser now has his sights set on Chris Hill, one of our drivers this evening that's in the race radio. I'm sure we'll get a word from him once he makes his pit stop as he comes down the hill into the chase. Up into P16 for now, but like we say, still to make his pit stop. 17.5 minutes to go. He's certainly running this first stint as long as he possibly can, is Chris. Just needs to keep things clean. I suppose this is another one of those situations, Dave, where the car behind you has pitted. You know, they're on a different strategy to you, and sometimes these 60-minute races are more or less a time trial, aren't they? Flag to flag. It's about minimising the time loss if you're a car that's further down the order.
You are, and you don't want to be racing a car that's behind you and that is quite clearly faster. Just get out of the way. Get on your own race. Get into the pits if you need to. Obviously, we've only got 16 minutes left of the race. I just don't cause yourself too much time loss, because it will hurt you with whoever you're racing. Because unless you've got a race engineer telling you the gaps, you don't actually know really for sure where you're going to come out, and you've really got to minimise that time loss.
Absolutely. Let's see then, Damien making a couple of mistakes up the run up through the Griffins and through the cutting, just losing himself some time as Chris Hill scampers away, lapping very well at the moment and keeping himself as far away from the walls as possible as he comes up over Skyline down in towards the Dipper. Chris up into P16. It's been a good stint, averaging some pretty strong lap times around the 206 mark. Average lap time in these 20 laps has been a 207.6 according to the timing screen, so that would be a good little spot for Chris just to keep in that and keep in that rhythm, continue on with this race. It's been going well for him so far, besides that incident at Griffins. As Nard Cox in P10 is fighting his way back up the order. Clyde Bainey has made a stop, so this is important. Let's see where the number 85 McLaren returns to the track. It looks like he's come out behind Chris Vickers. So Vickers, who made a very, well, a bit of an error on that first lap. I was about to say it's a bit silly really, he just ran deep in the brakes, but we discussed it's so easy to do in that first lap. We're trying to find track position. Now finds himself climbing up the order, making up positions. Pit stop with about 34 minutes to go, splitting the race in two. Looks to be playing out for him. In fact, actually, he is a bit further back from Clyde Bainey. It's at 14 seconds or so. Just waiting for the timing screen to update. So he's continuing his charge up the field, but it's going to be interesting to see where those other pit stoppers fall into that battle with still the top 7 positions yet to stop. Sem Spenkelink, Reece Spence, Rob Mattis, Marketch, Clyde Bainey, Andreas Garlin. Sorry, Bainey has pitted. My timing screen's not updated. Lenson, Kroll and Ebauer still to stop. So let's see how it plays out. Remaining 14 minutes of the race. Now, Dave, you get to this point, how are the tyres faring underneath you, or does it depend on how your previous 46 minutes have gone?
It does, yeah. And then, as we said earlier, the new tyre model, they do hurt if you are slipping and sliding around. So if you've got good balance, they should be feeling pretty good. But if your balance is off, or if your driving's a little bit erratic, then those rear tyres will be hurting through the mountain.
Absolutely, and it's not a track where you want to be having blunt tools. You want your tools as sharp as they can be to take on one of the most challenging motorsport venues in the world. Tim Niebauer heads to pit lane in the 622 Mercedes. He hits from inside the top 10. To drop a few positions in that number 622. Saying that, he's already on his way and about to exit pit lane. It looks like he's dropped behind Vickers and Nard Cox, and he's just ahead of, well no, he's going to be behind the Tafas and the number 25. Let's see then, Chris Hill's coming down pit lane. We ride on board with the number 7 Aston Martin, and he's about to head into his stop. Chris, first stint done and dusted. It's been a long one for you though. How's it gone?
It's gone alright. I made a silly mistake, but trying to pass Benjamin, but these things happen, don't they? We make mistakes. Apart from that, I thought I was making good progress up to that point.
I was going to say, you look to have recovered well. You've been lapping fairly consistently, so things going well then.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. Obviously, in everybody else's, I don't know. Am I winning?
Yeah, you're doing good. You're the winner in our eyes, Chris. Keep going.
Oh, cheers, dear. See you in a bit.
Catch you at the end, Chris. Good luck.
Thank you.
Let's head back out onto the track. Hopefully in a bit of clean air. Yes, he has found himself a little bit of clear track there. So let's see how he gets on in this remaining 12 minutes. Now, Nelson Abrenhoser on screen. He's battling Yannick Valenduk in front in the number 301 Honda NSX as they come over the crest under the Liquimolly Bridge and towards Murray's. And we start to see how the different strategies play out and how the races all seem to come together towards this final 10 minutes of the race. As they are tucked up behind, that is Clyde Bainey's McLaren in front. So not for position, but Bainey certainly feels the pressure as he moves to one side, and the Honda NSX in the slipstream is going to look for a way through, I think, up towards Griffin. So Bainey on the left-hand side, Valenduk in P24 is going to go for a move on our race winner from Donington Park and gets through, and there's nearly contact. There is contact behind as Nelson Abrenhoser looks to follow the NSX through and make side-to-side contact with the McLaren, sending both of them spinning slightly through the Griffin's Bend and up the hill towards the cutting. Interesting one there, Dave, because Abrenhoser and Valenduk are lapped down, but Manny, who's running on the lead lap in P7, finding himself trying to be passed by a couple of cars.
Yeah, it's a bit rude, really. Just stay out of it. You're not. Okay, you've got a race on with your own cars, and there's somebody managed to get past that you're racing, but that was optimistic at the least. Obviously, I expect probably the stewards to take a look at that and issue a penalty because that just wasn't on.
unfortunately, both are still heading the right direction and continuing on their merry way. Bunny's certainly going to be unhappy with that incident involving the number 33 Aston Martin of Nelson Abranhoser. They're coming down the Conrod Straight and towards the chase. Our race leader, Sem Spenkeling, heading up towards Griffin, still yet to pit. 10 minutes on the clock to go in this one. There's a number of cars still yet to make their visit to pit lane, and Abranhoser again was looking for a way past, and again comes in deep on the brakes and spins Barney as they come into the left-hander at the chase. Just makes contact with the back of the gold and purple McLaren and sends him spinning round. Abranhoser stops in the grass. I wonder if this is going to be day done. Yes, heads back to pit lane. So
head in shame.
There. Yeah, two incidents in that lap. Not gone too well for Nelson there, but similarly, Barney's going to be annoyed to have lost that time.
I was just, like I said, it was a bit optimistic. Just stay away from the guy. He's a lap ahead of you. If you're truly faster, which it didn't really look like he was that much, just stay away. Just back off a couple of seconds and let him get on with it. It's now cost him his race. Obviously, he's going to have his head held in shame for taking out a top 10 driver, but it's going to be terrific difficult. So here we go, as a replay of Abranhoser and up into the top of the mountain straight.
Yeah, look, there we go. That was Vallandert making his way through, and Abranhoser sees the door open and tries to make it work. Makes contact with the right rear of Barney's McLaren. Sends him into a half spin, looking to avoid further incident in that corner, but then at the end of the lap, contact at the chase, ending Abranhoser's race for certain. So here's Chris Hill in P23 coming into the chase. He's actually now, shows you how these races seem to work themselves out. He's 10 seconds off the back of Simon Pike, so our two race radio drivers this evening from the Dynamic Motorsports team down in positions 22 and 23. I wonder if things might close up and we get a battle towards the end of the race. As Sem Spenkeling heads up towards Griffin's Bend, 8 minutes on the clock. He's continuing to lap fairly consistently. His average lap time has been a 2:03.5, which is absolutely mega across the 25 laps we've had so far. Then it's Spence Robb, who's a few seconds down the road. 5.5 now is the driver of the number 48 Aston Martin. In fact, that's gone up to 6 seconds through that first sector of the lap. Then it's Mattis Marquez still holding on to P3 as a couple of cars are now pitting, one of those being Andreas Garlin, who was up inside the top 5. Dan Lenson, who's managed to make his way up to P4 in the pit stop phases, is now exiting pit lane as well. So a few of the last gasp pit stops being made, but still our top 3, our podium positions, still yet to make their mandatory stops with 7 minutes to go. Sem, look, Dave was talking about how long can you go into the race. He's still lapping. He doesn't look to have lost any pace. If anything, he's in a good little window of clean air at the moment. He might just continue around for a couple more before making that final stop.
Yeah, I would. He's pulled out about 2 seconds since we last were on board with him, and when you look at those lap times, they're just eking out a little bit. 2:04s are probably getting on the top end there, but Spence Robb's times are not. He's not closing, so if he's got the fuel, why not stay out? Less chance of having an incident in the pit lane. He's got a lot of space around, and just crack on. Chris Vickers now into fourth. That was brilliant.
Seems like we're having a little bit of an audio issue with Dave there, which fingers crossed will get sorted before the broadcast is up. Dave, if you have unplugged yourself and plugged yourself back in, just want to finish up what you were saying.
Am I back? Okay.
There we go. That's better.
Yeah, sorry. Is just saying that Chris Vickers has done well. He's P4. He's obviously done his stint after his pit stop has really put him up into a really good position there. And he's obviously still got some cars ahead to pit, but I can't imagine he's going to be going up any higher.
let's see how it plays out, because still opportunity to make error. It's so easy to do so in those pit stops as Dan Lenson heads in towards the chase. In the number 31 Jag, 280 on the speedometer there. Fastest point on the track. Very rapid indeed into one of the heavy braking zones. He's got some competition behind now. Kroll and Niebauer all together on the road. So this is position 6, 7 and 8. Managed to just work their way up the order as strategy is played out and pit stops have taken place across the 1 hour race. They've certainly made their way up through the field. Lenson started 11th and now finds himself well inside the top 10. Niebauer in the number 622 that we're looking back at here started in P16. And Kroll on your screen there in the purple and yellow number 19 Lamborghini. He started in P15, so all three of these drivers outside the top 10 on the grid and after qualifying, but finding their way into the top 10 on strategy. As is James Meads, number 29 Aston Martin, after that off on the first lap. He's now up to P10. It's been a really strong recovery drive from James Mead. As we head now into the final 4 minutes and the final couple or 3 laps, as Sem Spenkling on the mountain straight and going up towards the right-hander at Griffins, as is Abramhoser and Zander Vale. They're just exiting that corner and climbing up the hill towards the cutting. This is a battle for P15. Vale in the 808 trying to defend the spot from Mike Abramhoser's 21 McLaren as they go up over the crest and into the mountain section here across the top. Plunge down and rise and all kinds of undulations through there as Kroll side by side then with Niebauer in towards the chase. You'll have the inside line for the left hand and they nearly make contact through the fast right where you're at terminal velocity here at Mount Panorama, but Kroll's able to hold on to the position as Niebauer's forced to back out of it as he runs out of road on the exit of the chase. But he's got the run into the final corner, looking for a way round the outside. They are nose to tail into the final corner at Murray's. Kroll able to hold on to the position for now, but Niebauer's fighting back. Kroll drives to the pit wall. He'll have the inside line into Hellcorn. Niebauer's trying to send it around the outside but can't do it. Once again, we see the Mercedes make a cutback though through that first corner. Kroll will have the inside line into Griffins, but it won't mean anything because the Mercedes of Niebauer has passed him well before they get to the corner owing to that exit from the first turn at Hell Corner. So another position gained for the number 622 of Tim Niebauer, who's now up to P7. As here this fight, Abramhoser to the outside of Vale into the final corner. Can't get the job done. The 808 holds on to P15. Abramhoser though looking for a way past as the clock ticks down towards the final 2 minutes of the race. And Sem Spenkling looks to just be about to make his final stop. Yes, he is in pit lane, as well as Spence Robb, and I think Marquette is coming down pit lane as well. So our top 3 cars are on pit road making their final stops. The last opportunity really to make any sort of mistake and potentially throw away a podium finish, but it looks like they've got away cleanly, as we'll see when they rejoin the track. Here is Sem Spenkling. He'll release the pit limiter. Looks to be free of any error, and he's going to rejoin just with one of our drivers from today. That's Chris Hill, and they are side by side. Go on, Chris, as they go up the mountain straight. But no, Chris opts to back out of it, rightfully so. I believe this could be the last lap of the race with only 1 minute 20 on the clock. As they come up towards Griffin's Bend, Spenkling has just managed to drag out a couple more seconds race lead over Spence Robb as well. So 6 seconds behind. Marquette looks to have held on to P3 as well, with Chris Vickers in the 147 McLaren. A long way down the road in P4. Just waiting to see how that plays out on the track map. But Sem Spenkling, Dave's really driven the perfect race. We haven't seen any mistakes from him. We haven't seen any errors in traffic or maybe getting frustrated, caught behind slower cars. He's been clean and consistent, and that's the best way to be here at Bathurst.
Yeah, it looks like it's been a pretty boring race for him. He's just kept it out of trouble, kept it out the wall. Obviously, the cars have pitted away from him by the looks of things. I was just on board with him in the pits, and it looked like he actually stalled the car just as coming out of the pit box. So he was lucky there that it didn't cause him any more delay. But yeah, he's driven an almost perfect race there. He's only got 10 seconds to go, so it looks like this potentially is going to be the last lap, as you said.
In towards the chase for the final time of asking. We've had 5 different winners in the 5 races so far, but Sem Spenkelink is going to become our first repeat winner of the season here at the Simsport Racing International GT3 Season 4. Murray's Corner for the final time of asking, and onto the start-finish straight. Sem Spenkelink takes the checkered flag and race victory here at Bathurst. A perfect run from lights to flag, unchallenged from start to finish. Rhys Spence-Robb crosses the line in P2, 6 seconds behind our race victor. He's coming up to take the flag there. Matas Marquez picks up his second podium finish of the season, adding to his Zandvoort rostrum. There's a number of other cars come to take the checkered flag, as there, across the line, that was Chris Vickers in P4 ahead of Nard Cox. They cross the line separated by 0.6 of a second. We then will be waiting for Dan Lenson's number 31 Jaguar, the bright orange car. There it is. You can see it coming from a long way off. Through the final corner, he's challenged by Tim Leibauer to the line, but the move can't be done. Leibauer P7 ahead of Tim Krul. Then it's Dave Jr. and James Mead, who recovered from that first lap off to P10. Then we'll be waiting on Itay Medema in the number 36 Ferrari with Damien de Keyser in P12. Thomas Van Schijk, Kevin Tapas and Zander Vale should hopefully complete your top 15 if they can make it all the way back to the checkered flag. Now, Chris Hill has crossed the line to take the flag, so if he is completing a cool-down lap, let's grab a word with the driver of the number 7. Chris, you've taken the checkered flag in P21, a fairly consistent race, all things considered.
Sure, I've just crossed the line in second. You mean 21st? Yes, it was. I was quite pleased with that. Very consistent for me. In fact, I'm shocked more than anything. I might have had the odd brush against the wall, but I didn't plough straight into one as I normally would round here. So I'm very pleased with my race.
Brilliant stuff, and we're going to head over to your teammate very quickly and speak to Simon Pike, who, another driver, just crossed the line. Simon just took the checkered flag in P20. How was that?
I was happy with that. At least I was still on the lead lap, just. But yeah, that just one brake mishap into the elbow at the top of the hill. It just sent me the wrong way into the wall, and that sort of defined my race. I wish I had a second half like the first half, but well, there's people had a lot worse than me. So yeah, I was happy with that. It was great. Enjoyed it.
Brilliant stuff, Simon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Congratulations to Sem, Rob and Matthias. They did very well. Very well.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Simon, for joining us on the race radio. It's been a laugh dropping in during the race. Hopefully it didn't distract you too much.
No, you were watching what you were doing. You got me at the right spot, so yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
But Dave, checkered flag at the end of the race there. Sem Spenkelink taking a fantastic race victory, Dave. Like we say, he was clean and consistent throughout the race. He didn't make those mistakes, and leaving the pit stop as late as possible really worked out for him.
Yeah, almost my driver of the day. Is very controlled, no mistakes. Like we said, he's had good pace in through practice and qualifying. So the perfect weekend really. My driver of the day, Lenson. He's raced pretty much most of that race with under pressure and control. Kept the Jag under control through the mountain and just stretched his legs. So he's my driver of the day for picking up a P6 or P7. Sorry, it was P6.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of drivers joining us now post-race. 2 of our podium finishers from this round at Bathurst. We'll go to our P2 finisher, Rhys Spence-Robb. Rhys, Another really strong race from yourself. You've now picked up 3 podiums in the last 3 races. You're really finding form in this second half of the season, but Bathurst isn't an easy beast to tame. How was your race this evening?
It was tricky. It was a case of just not making mistakes, and just firstly, I've got to give it to Sam that he just had absolutely unbelievable pace. I just couldn't answer to it. He just clearly dialed in the car a little bit better than us. But I was struggling at the start, so to be able to come away with the P2, the Aston, I don't think it favours this track very much. It can bog down a little bit out the corners, and I've been working on the setup with James Mead, so big shout out to him. We'll get that out of the way for helping me with the setup and getting me up there. But I just had to try and make no mistakes and just beat out the lots as quick as I could.
Absolutely. We saw plenty of action up and down the field, but for you being one of the drivers in the top 4 or 5 positions, you start catching traffic fairly soon on in these races, and here at Bathurst with the number of cars pitting fairly early on, it's all about managing your track space, isn't it? And find yourself in a bit of clean air, it can do wonders for your race.
Yeah, traffic is always a massive not necessarily much an issue, but you just have to try and stay patient. If you catch them up the mountain, there's no point in risking it, and even if you do lose a couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there, I think it will average itself out across the race. So I just had to try, and luckily there wasn't too much traffic on this one, and everyone, credit to them, was really respectful. But you are going to catch cars in the mountain. That's just Bathurst, and something that you've got to factor into your race as well.
Well, congratulations on another podium position, Reese. Look forward to seeing you out there next time.
Brilliant. Cheers, Tim.
Let's go over to Mattis Markech, P3 finisher here at Bathurst. Another podium position to his name, adding to his Zandvoort finish. Mattis, an exciting race for you in the McLaren. It was close neck and neck with Reese off the start there into the first turn, but a fairly clean race for yourself from then on, and another podium to your name.
Yeah, that's right. To be honest, it was a bit of a calm race because I was there alone. Only the Clade was behind me, but then he made some mistakes. So then I was alone there. But anyway, I'm so happy because I was really nervous about the start. Because next to me was Reese and in front of me was Sam, and they're having a really good fight for the championship, so I don't want to make some mistakes. But yeah, at the end I'm really happy because I was looking forward for this race. I know that I'm strong here and I can do some good result here.
Well, 2 podiums in the last 3 races. Do you think you're finding some pace and performance with the McLaren?
To be honest, I started to train a little bit because now I have more time during the winter, so I think that's the case. So I will see if I can take some another, but I hope so.
Brilliant stuff. Well, congratulations on your P3, Mattis, and thank you for joining us post race.
Yeah, I also want to say thank you to the people that are supporting me. I want to say hello to Lily and thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Mattis. So let's go over to our race victor, Sem Spenkelink. Sem, second win of the season, the first driver to take 2 wins so far this championship season. Just shows you how close the competition has been. But you were the man to beat tonight, and no one could rise to the challenge. How was your race?
It was a really sweaty race, actually. Really glad with this one. Bathurst has never been my greatest track. I never really felt comfortable in any car around this track. It was really like sweating hard, like diapers were needed. But today I actually felt comfortable in the McLaren. Like it felt good from the get-go, really stable, and I had good pace. So yeah, really happy with this one, and good to be back here on top. Like it's been a while, I believe, so nice to be back. Yeah, Bryce kept me really honest, and Mattis had really good pace as well. So congratulations to you guys as well. Bit gutted about Nart because yeah, actually I think he might have been faster than me, but unfortunately he caught some damage near the start of the race. So yeah, shame about that because it would have been nice to have a top result for the team. But I'm sure that will come.
We were talking in the coverage about tyres. It seems to be a bit of a buzzword following this most recent ACC update, but you went a full, well, it was near 58 minutes before you made your stop. How was it managing the rubber across the race, and particularly at a circuit like Bathurst?
Yeah, it was doable. I think the wear was quite high, especially on the right side tires. When you're going through the fast uphill section, the car just leans on the right side, of course, for so long. Tires would heat up and get really high pressures and then cool down again when you get the two long straights after each other. So I had a quick look on my tires afterwards, and they were grained a little bit and a small flat spot in the left front. But yeah, nothing extreme compared to what I'm used to with the Maserati, of course.
Absolutely. Another important result for you as well in terms of the championship. How do you tackle that, knowing that you're fighting for this top spot? You have carried the number 1 on your car, so you're already marking yourself out as champion. But in terms of fighting for that, does that come into your thoughts going into these races, or are you just taking each event as it comes?
Yeah, I need to keep it a little bit careful, of course. Like if you get a no result or a low score, then Rice is so consistent, so the gap would become too big. So need to be a bit careful, but also you can't be too careful because all these guys are bloody quick, as you said. Like we've had a different victor almost every race, so I think that speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on your race win this evening, Sem. Look forward to seeing you out next time.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you for the great coverage once again, and hope to be back here in 2 weeks.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sem. Dave, great to hear from the drivers as always post-race. Great to hear how they, overcome the circuit like Bathurst, and interestingly enough to hear that the tyres from Sem, he thought they were pretty okay despite wear being quite high.
I think it just shows you when you do talk to the drivers how different their races were, even though they all looked like they had a fairly similar race, especially with where the tyres were or were not behaving, and the pit stops, and just also noticing what your teammates does as well. It's all testament to the concentration levels that they have, that they can notice all this stuff and control the cars for 60 minutes, let alone 30 minutes around this track.
Yeah, it's very difficult even just making it around your warm-up lap here at Bathurst, let alone lapping for an entire hour. But thank you very much, Dave, for joining me in the commentary box. It's been a pleasure having you on board this evening to enjoy the action here as well. Big thanks to Simon Pike and Chris Hill for letting us be in their race radio throughout the event this evening. It's been very much enjoyable getting
Thanks
an insight
to you guys.
as to big thanks, Simon. Been very much enjoyable hearing how your race is getting on live and in the action. So that concludes things here at Bathurst. Mount Panorama, Sem Spenkelink, spectacular once again. Race victory and an eye set on the championship crown. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Until then, goodbye.